Can we get him a mic? He's not looking. I think he's had some work done over the years.
Right?
He did, yeah, he's a little. Watch out, don't get too close to your face. Alright. Alright, so, the first question. Oh, great, what have I done? You're just gonna play with that the whole time. I guess my first question was, when is the last time you guys sat down and watched the film? Do you remember? Just, yeah.
It's been some time. But, you know, the 35th anniversary is coming up, so I'm sure we'll be getting to see lots of screenings. Is this on? Hello? Is it on? Yeah. Oh, okay. So, gosh, I can't remember when I sat down the last time I watched it. Sorry.
We have lives.
So you're not like me, and you don't wake up in the morning and watch it every day. Do you remember the first time you saw the film after you were done filming?
Yes, I do. They never had a premiere for this movie. So I paid for my ticket and I went down to the Egyptian Theater and stood in line to see it.
Yeah.
I tell you, there's some weird, very weird politics involved with this movie, so.
Well, we're not here to discuss politics. We're in Texas.
And Tom, do you remember the first time you saw it?
I don't, to tell you the truth, but I do remember, I don't know where it was, but apparently I was the only one, because I'm really a film student, and I think of myself as a filmmaker, myself living as an actor. So I was following Ridley everywhere he went to see what he was doing, his approach to it, how he dealt with crew members, how he dealt with production, how he dealt with producers yelling at him. And I watched this, I remember the indigestion scene. And watching them light this thing and set it up, because it was precedent setting, there was nothing else quite like this. And I just saw the simplicity of the design of how he was doing it. A simple ramp, guy underneath, pushing this guy out. And yeah, the pivots. The erection curve. So I saw how all that was going to happen. This one kept herself innocent of it. The other guys had kind of some idea what was going to happen. So I knew it was going to happen. Now, I also knew that Ridley had ordered real entrails of a cow and the blood to go with it.
And they were in buckets and formaldehyde.
And you didn't know that you were going to get the blood splattered on you, correct?
Well, what happened was, we were up in, at least I was, we were up and Harry Dean Stanton was playing guitar, nobody knew quite what was going on. I mean, it seemed like hours we were up there. And then we come downstairs and everything's covered in plastic and we're wearing raincoats and there's like cameras and you gagged when you walked into that plastic room. I mean, with all these guts and stuff that they had stuffed John with that were sitting in buckets on the side of the thing. We read the script, so we knew something was coming out of his chest. They told me I'd get a little blood on myself. I did not know that I had a jet pointed at my face, and that myself, being so intrigued by what was going on, would lead directly into it. Yes, that was a shock.
Yeah, and that scene goes down in history as one of the most iconic scenes of all time. Did you guys ever have an idea that Alien, did you just think it was going to be a one-off film, or did you ever have any idea when you were making it that it would create this whole culture and following and become sequels and merchandising and video games?
No, I think we'd all have better confidence if we didn't. I think it started out as being a B movie. Nobody was like famous who was in the movie. Ridley just got really, really good character people. And once they saw like 20, 30 minutes of footage, they pumped another $8 million, $10 million into the movie. So, I mean, these sets were phenomenal. The thing that was special about it, I think, is that everything was built. There was not one moment of CGI. When you see John dropping down to the eggs, he was actually in the rafters of the sound stage. The desert was one whole sound stage with the whole ship was just, you'd walk in and out beyond another sound stage where you'd go to, from the engine room, you'd walk down the corridor, to the left was the hospital, to the right was the, I mean, it was very claustrophobic. I think that's probably what sort of added to the whole intensity of the piece. But I don't know, I think we started to realize there was something special going on after a while.
Well, my story is a little different. I was offered I sent the script. Told it was a $2 million budget, and they didn't have the director, so I guess I was the first one that they had asked. And I was somewhat snobbish in those days because I was getting a lot of work, and I thought, well, this is really not an actor's script, and $2 million film is going to be another Ed Wood movie. and then a couple weeks later, I saw The Duelists. Have you seen The Duelists?
Really, his first
You
film.
must see it. It's the first film he ever did. He was a graphics artist. And,
It's a double feature.
yeah, it was just a remarkable film he did with his own money for $900,000. It's just a stupendous film. And I saw this and I thought, geez, I would love to work with this guy. Well, maybe another week later, I get a call from the producer. I forgot his name. And he says, we got Ridley Scott, and the budget is up to 10 or 12 million bucks. And I said, on second thought.
Because I auditioned in LA the first time, and then I happened to be going over to England. I'm British, I was born in England. And so while I was over there, I said to my agent, did they ever cast that movie? Because while I'm over there, I might as well see the casting director. And I think I was probably lucky that I was British because they have quota systems, how many people can work over there. And so I worked, I fit that quota.
Now, is it true that you originally auditioned for the role of Ripley and didn't know that you didn't have that role until you showed up for costuming, right?
Yeah, I'd only ever read, I'd only ever read for the part of Ripley. Yes, how
you
things
showed up.
could have been different.
You showed up.
I get a call, I go over there, I get a call, and they said, okay, you need to come in for your wardrobe for Lambert. They said, oh no, I'm not Lambert, I'm Ripley. No, you're Lambert. I said, oh, I have never even looked at the part from Lambert's point of view. So I called my agent, I said, aren't I Ripley? And he goes, yes. I said, well, why am I playing Lambert? I said, because all it looked to me was all she did was cry. She drove me absolutely. No, this is not me. And so I read the script from that, from her point of view, Lambert's point of view. And I talked to the producers and they said, well, actually, she's the audience. She is the one that it's from her point of view, basically, that the audience is looking at.
She's the only logical one in the bunch.
I am. I'm the one who says, let's draw straws, let's get the hell out of here, I'm logical. I was emotional, but logical. So anyway, I ended up doing it. It was quite an experience, I must say. And the British crews are fantastic. They are amazing. But there were some conflicts on the show. I remember, Ridley has an insatiable appetite of creation, and he doesn't care whether he sleeps or not. Well, we were at Shepperton Studios, and most of the crew were at least an hour and a half away. And after we wrap, then they have to wrap up everything. So it was the only show I've ever been on where an entire crew struck. They said, we are leaving on Friday at 6 o'clock at night. And so just be aware we're doing this, we're all exhausted. So of course, they let the scene finish. 6 o'clock at night, everybody goes, that's a wrap, boys. And they just start pulling plugs. And Gordon was out there, all these producers, what the hell are you doing? This isn't, can't be doing this. And they said, oh no, we warned you, we need to sleep. But Ridley is willing to stay. Yes, he's always willing to stay. That's why we're going home. And they did. Tables and they left. And they had a long weekend and came back and everybody was refreshed. I mean, it was an exhausting shoot. It was very claustrophobic. And the more you went on, they'd stand there with these lovely things of glycerin and just pump it on you. And
GY jelly.
we were filthy dirty by the time we left. I mean, it was, well, Ridley's vision was we were truckers in space. And that's what he felt like.
I almost like that title better. Truckers in space. In space, no one can hear you scream or use your CB. And you got your revenge against the Ripley character because you got to slap the shit out.
Oh, but that was
Improv, right? You didn't know that.
No, well, what happened was it was written in the script that when she won't let us on, I'm to hit her across the face. The problem was that every time I went to hit her across the face, she ducked. To one of these things. So Ridley comes up to me and he goes, just get her this time. So I went like that, she went like this, and I backhanded her.
It was fun to watch these two.
Hence it was cut, from the movie, but it's in the director's cut.
Right, yeah. You mentioned the claustrophobia of the set. I personally, and I think I'm probably not alone here, feel like it is, to this day, one of the greatest set designs and feels the most real. I mean, it was kind of behind Star Wars, which was 77, this was 79. It was kind of the other idea of a realistic, dirty outer space. And what was it like? I imagine being on set and seeing Geiger's creations there in front of you probably aided a lot helping get into the character. I mean, were there any moments on set where you genuinely got scared?
I don't think we really analyzed creativity. You just take what you got, and what you got is what inspires you. So I guess that's a way of expressing it, as you put it. But I doing by analysis of why, when, how did this happen to that.
Yeah.
And it's really that stuff that happens out of being with a group of actors that we were with, and my memory of his direction, Ridley's direction, bless his heart, because I was just totally absorbed in what he was doing, everything, visual framing, the four frames, everything. Every time he looked through the lens, I looked through the lens, he explained what he was trying to get at. So for me, it was a blessing.
I didn't know any of this.
And I know you were very discreetly staying away from your terror of the whole thing, but I will have, can I just give you a little quickly about this English crew, for example?
No.
I really respect.
Absolutely.
But there was I had some funny stories, one of which I'll tell.
Okay.
I had come to the set right after lunch. Everybody's back from the lunch and they're kind of shaking out. Everybody's usually quiet anytime, and when you come back from lunch, it's fairly calm. People are digesting whatever it is they're eating. And one of the actors, an American actor, or whoever he was, didn't have a lot of extra. Anyway, this one chap comes on and said he's starting the day too, and he's in the first scene, and he's the kind of guy that's got to get worked up in order to really get the juices flowing. And he's looking at the English crew, which is very sedate, very serene, always very serene, very understanding of everything. And he starts grinning on like, "God, what the hell's going on? You guys just stand around there like you're mooning everybody. Come on, let's shake it up a little bit, get things going here, get some life here." And he finally stopped and he was all ready to go. And I was standing in the back, and the two English crew crew members in front of me. And after this wonderful exercise, one turns to the other and says, "Isn't it grand being English?"
That's so funny.
Oh, God.
Didn't that sound okay?
Yes, absolutely. They're super cool. They are super cool.
I would like to ask about, you what was it like kind of filming in the tunnels? You know, your famous kind of, you never quite see what happens to you in the tunnels, and then all of a sudden you find out what happens to you later and you get shish kebabbed. But what was it like filming in the tunnels and then being in that space jockey set, which had to be?
You know, I'll tell you, when we did those tunnels, I don't know what you were in those tunnels. We had to go down after the movie was finished and stand in a recording studio and we did the entire thing. Remember? We did the entire thing ADR.
Wow.
So standing next to each other, screaming, watching them go through the tunnels. I guess it had to be a timing thing or something, but it was a weird experience. So basically,
Do you have any fun?
You know, you feel more of the genuine feeling. Holy crap, what was I thinking to do that? You know, at the time you do this work, you just do it.
Right.
You really trust your impulses. We all trust our impulses because basically we're a group of actors who really did not have a director who, at that point, was able to really effectively direct actors as whole because he had the image. So a lot of what he did was this viewership that he had, and he shared between the composition, the textures. The actors, he trusted implicitly. He never really said much to us.
never said much at all.
Except the one time that I will also talk about very briefly. We were reading. We were going to have a read-through in his office around that table. And he kept interrupting. We'd say a couple of lines, and then I'm going to have just a little bit of the tail of that monster come out, because I'm kind of using Texas Chainsaw Massacre to set up that suspense you never see, rarely ever see. It's that thing that you let, this is less is more. Scare people by giving it to their imagination.
Like Jaws.
Well, it's an Alfred Hitchcock thing.
Yeah.
So finally an AD comes in and says, "We got a problem on the set," and he left. We never got through one scene. And I looked at you guys and I said, because I was the captain of the ship, so I said, "Okay, it's up to us." That's what happened. We directed ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
And his only direction I recall was looking through the lens of the camera one time. The breakfast scene we were talking prior to the indigestion scene. And he's looking through the camera and pulls back from a rehearsal. It's always interesting with you guys, because I was always getting something different and wonderful. Interesting. That was the only
Do you, I'd like to know if you have any memories of Bolaji Badejo. You know, he's this 7-foot-tall Nigerian. He was a graphic design student that, you know, they tested Peter Mayhew for the xenomorph, and then they find this guy in a coffee shop, and there's kind of this weird urban legend about him. Like, nobody really knows what happened to him, and he just kind of disappeared. But he brought so much to the xenomorph and the movement. Do you guys have any memories of that?
Well, I remember going in the first time, and he was like half in the suit. They were putting the suit on him because they wanted us to see, you know, sort of what he looked like and everything. I mean, he was amazing. He was Maasai tribe. His limbs were, his arms, his hands went below his kneecaps. I mean, he was like this long, gorgeous person. He had huge feet, which they always stuck like sneakers on him.
Well,
And
one exception, which I'll tell you.
but Tom is the one who said this poor man cannot sit down because of his tail. And they built a swing for him so he could sit down on his swing. So, but if it hadn't been for Tom speaking up, the poor guy would have been wandering around, God only knows. they had sent him to Tai Chi classes and some mime classes, and so that he could move very slowly. Believe me, when he comes after me in that scene, I didn't have to do anything. I just had to look at him. I mean, I've always sort of had this weird thing with knives. I don't like knives very much. And the thing was that once he uncoiled, he just stood there. And I just had to look at him. And then you go, oh, shit. And just instinctively, what he did was amazing. He had this incredible presence. Yeah. And, you know, people said, well, how did you make yourself scared? I didn't do anything. I just had to look at him.
Yeah.
And, you know, that costume fit him. It was made to him.
Yeah.
Those were gloves on his hands. That helmet they put on his head. It was just like he was the alien.
I will have to say that you, in my mind, when I saw your work that you were doing, and a lot of unfortunately had to be cut out of the film because of reasons, but I really thought you did the best performance of any.
You won a Saturn Award for it as well. For your performance.
Yes.
Yeah, she was wonderful. And I just throw in a little bit about the alien with whom I spent a lot of some time. Very interesting, very bright guy. It's a great aeronautical engineering or something like that. But in any case, I can come late to lunch, after lunch, just as they broke for lunch, to work in that afternoon. During the huge stage doors were open, and out came, he came out with his everything off on, except for the head. And he's 7 feet, and he was talking to a 5'1" wardrobe mistress. And they were really having a conversation. The wardrobe lady was very interesting. So obviously they were probably in something very profound. And he's got this outfit on, and he's got his arm around talking to her like this as they're walking along. And he's wearing very bright blue Adidas tennis shoes. And his tail is being carried by a very flamboyant wardrobe assistant. He had a white scarf on, and the wind was blowing. So it's, and I just wish I had a photo of this. This guy's talking to this 5-foot woman. This scarf is flying out behind this guy who's carrying the tail of the It was one. If I had that photograph, you'd all be paying a lot of money for it.
You know, it was so interesting because when we were doing the scene where he comes and he gets me, all that stuff that he has in his mouth, you know, when he opens his mouth and stuff like that is KY jelly. Mother, as we called him, was the wardrobe man, and Ridley shouted, "We need some more glue. There needs to be more glistening." All of a sudden, Mother goes, "I'll do it," and comes out with a tube of KY. I've never seen it. It was like this.
Probably his own personal stash.
It was. I was shocked. And there he is. Here's the log. He's standing there, and they're squeezing this stuff, and he's caressing my back.
Something tells me that wasn't the first time.
I mean, it was hysterical. It was just unbelievable. I will do it.
You know, it's funny you mentioned him in the suit without the head on, because I don't know if you guys have seen, they just recently released this test footage of him in the suit moving in one of the corridors in the ship, and there's no sound, and it is genuinely terrifying. Like, just to watch this man move, and he doesn't even have the head on, like, it's just his face. So if you guys haven't seen that, you should look it up on YouTube.
Was that on YouTube?
Yeah, it's just test footage.
He did put his foot down, though, when they wanted to put the maggots in the top of the head. Which, you know, there's that shot, remember? There's a shot, and it looks like his brain's moving. They were maggots. They were red and yellow and blue and white maggots. And he said, I am not doing that.
You know,
Horrible.
There's a funny story about you guys when you go explore the ship and you go into the space jockey room, that the suits were so hot that you were fainting. Is that true? Oh man. Okay.
No, we were just not breathing.
Yeah.
They had forgotten to put any air hole in it for
Yeah.
us. And then when we were walking, there was a CO2 canister, and you'd see it sort of come, like these little swirls come. Do you see smoke? And we didn't realize what it was. It was the CO2.
Oh my gosh.
And all of a sudden you'd go, God, I don't feel so hot. Shit. They forgot to put any air holes in it.
So when we see John Hurt fall into the X, it's actually just him passing out.
Yeah, I was past. Tom caught me up at the top of the 24-foot, in the downhead spaceship.
Yeah.
And we had hockey gloves on that had been painted so they didn't move. And it was like football gear we had on.
You make me sound like the chief rescuer.
You were the captain. You were the captain.
Rescued me. I didn't pinch off of that 24-foot ball.
But you probably wouldn't want to keep your suit. But did you guys keep any other cool props or the costumes were super cool. Did you keep anything from the set?
No.
Mr.
I have that patch.
You kept your beard, so you kept that.
Yeah.
It was a different color.
This is for General Grant.
Yeah.
I play General Grant.
And then it's funny that
More like Robert.
I just went back and watched the film, the director's cut last night, and it's just interesting. Like, do you guys feel like, Ridley said this, that his original cut, usually when some of you hear director's cut, it means that the original wasn't his vision, but he says it very much was. The director's cut was just to kind of add some of that stuff in. Do you feel like either or is the definitive vision? Have you guys seen the director's cut?
Yeah, I've seen the director's cut.
Oh yeah, because you did the commentary for it.
Yeah, and do you notice how many scenes I was cut out of? I'm 9 of the 11.
They're like, we gotta get not so much crying.
What came out commercially in the theaters is pretty much the director's cut. The director's cut is just another way it's on the film.
Yeah, and I would like to know about working with the cat. When you really go back and watch Alien, you realize that it's just a movie about a bunch of people trying to save a cat. A lot of people get killed just trying to save this cat, and he kind of seems like an asshole for it. It's
Not very appreciative.
No, not at all.
He was jealous. He looked like Morrison.
There were like 6 cats in it, right? Weren't there?
No, I never worked with a cat.
We don't like animals. You don't work with animals.
Yeah.
Or children.
Directors of
Obviously, I mentioned that this has kind of spawned this whole following, of course, sequels. James Cameron's Aliens in '86, and then David Fincher's Alien 3, '92, Jean-Pierre Genie's Alien Resurrection '97. I wrote it down. Alien vs. Predator 2004. That's a highlight. Alien vs. Predator Requiem, and then of course Prometheus. Have you guys seen any or all of the sequels? I'd love to know which one.
I like the second one. I like the
Aliens?
second one very much. I thought that was good. I thought there were a few too many aliens in it.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry I couldn't get through the third one.
Yeah.
And the one with the resurrection that
Yeah.
looked like thousands of sperm swimming towards the.
Winona Ryder. Yeah.
But I did see Prometheus, and I liked Rumi Rapace. I thought she was really interesting. The thing that bothered me about the movie, because I liked the movie, was the fact that Michael Fassbender, as the robot, his head was here and his body was here, and he could still talk. And this was supposed to be before our movie, where we had Ian Holm in a table where we had to reconnect.
Right.
So it became unreal to me. It bugged me.
Yeah.
It really bothered me. Because what was making him tick? And here we have, we were putting them together and trying to get him to talk, and And so that really bothered me.
You know what, Veronica Cartwright, I like you, because you're just like all of us nerds. Get on the internet. I like that actually. Yeah, it's good.
But isn't that true? I mean,
Yeah,
if it
absolutely.
was supposed to be a prequel,
Yeah.
how come it was so much more advanced than our little robot at the table?
Continuity. That was great. Tom, did you see Prometheus?
No, I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, you saw Alien?
Yeah.
He's dead. Why bother?
I always had a sense of you make a film like Alien, which is so rich and so full and so beyond anything the script suggested. We all know the thing I do know is that you had to have a solid, good script. And it's really entirely up to the filmmaker to make it what it is. And to his credit, he was able to get an extraordinary group of actors together who responded very well with each other and knew that we had to contain this as much as we could and make it what it was. And for me, it was that kind of wonderful experience that I just don't, it's like MASH. I knew they would make that into a series. But you know you're in a classic film when you're like that, when you're halfway through it, and you allow that that's what it's going to be, which it turns out that's what happened. And it becomes almost sacrilege to go back and see sequels because you know they're not going to come up to what the original was. And I guess basically that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to take the last 20 minutes to open it up to you guys, but there's one thing that there's so much stuff about this film that I found out and didn't know about. And other than Dallas being your name being significant, that you guys are here at Texas Frightmare in Dallas, I didn't know that Dallas as a city was kind of seminal in turning the tide for Alien. I wonder if you guys know this, I'll tell the story. So the first screening, first audience test screening they ever did in LA, they had audio problems, it didn't go well, and people kind of judged the movie for that. And they had a second screening because 20th Century Fox had an office here in Dallas. And they said that it went very well, and one of the heads of the studio said it was the most incredible preview I've ever been in. People were screaming and running out of the theater. And Dallas, as a city, in that screening, completely changed the tide for the film. And 20th Century Fox felt really confident after feeling really scared that it wasn't going to take off. So do you guys know that?
No.
Yeah?
I had no idea.
I didn't know that, but I've had that experience with MASH.
Yeah.
Studios hated it.
Yeah. So there you go, fun fact. All right, let's open it up. I wonder if this will, let's see if this stretches. Does it want to come down? Okay, we'll just kind of do a line here, that way it makes it fair. So, question?
Just for Tom and Veronica. First, Tom, do you have a favorite scene on that particular film, on Alien, a favorite scene? And for you, Veronica, do you have a favorite scene on that particular film?
Favorite scene?
Favorite scene.
Favorite scenes? Those that I described, the stuff outside of the shooting was always good. I mean, seeing the monster, seeing the creature walking out with Nike tennis shoes and a flamboyant tail carrier. Those things are really staying with me. The rest of it is really just favorites is really kind of a hard thing to do. I'm trying to choose a favorite film. I've been in several classics, man. I just am so appreciative to be able to share a moment with actors like this, being given the career I've had. Now, what pick a favorite?
Oh, me, my favorite scene in the movie? I did like the escorting, but... I don't know what it is. It's hard to pick favorites because you get so involved with them and the people who are in them, that each scene sort of becomes, complete in itself. So I don't know. you know, the movie came out, Ridley had originally told us it was like, sort of like a Beauty and the Beast thing where nobody was giving a chance to this thing that grew incredibly fast and it would just reach out and strike out at you. And that was one of the things that was done with the robot in Home when he was in the table. He asked us if any of us had tried to communicate with it. And of course, none of us had. It was later changed where it became much more that it became an evil beast, that it wasn't sort of our creation, it was creating that. And so I think the movie changed a bit, and it took me a long time to come around to sort of accepting the fact, you know, that it became an incredibly popular picture, and it wasn't what we originally thought it was going to be, so. But it's an experience.
Next.
My question, I guess, is for Tom. You said you followed around Ridley when he was filming Alien. Years later, you got to work with late great Tony Scott. Can you tell the experiences working on that and the differences between the brothers, similarities and also differences?
Well, they both come. Tony, with a loss. They both come from the same school, same background. They're both soccer players, rugby, you know, cold or poor, they describe themselves from the north. So they had always a grittiness in their personalities as well. And they developed it as graphics artists together, doing commercials together. So they really cross-pollinated each other. The only distinction, I think, between the two that I found was Tony was a little more gregarious. Ridley was a little more serious. So that's about the difference between the two of them. He is, by the way, very seriously lost the film industry.
Really?
Yeah.
True romance.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Thanks for the question.
Thanks. Hello, love the movie.
Did you guys have any interaction with Giger at all? Was he on the set?
Yeah. Yes, he was there. He was there every day.
What was he like?
He was haunting us.
He always wore black and like this sort of cape thing. And his wife or girlfriend, I don't know what she was, she looked like her. And she was kind of floating in beside her. I mean, he was like totally eccentric. He was so thrilled that this was getting done. And all I could think of was, gee, I wonder what his house looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, every single image in there is a sexual image. I mean, you know, big
Phallics and
Absolutely. Oh, a lot like that. Yeah, and purple and those, yeah.
Do you have
He was nice. He was a great guy. He was just like, you know. Oh.
Do you have a favorite piece of the set by him?
Well, I mean, the whole thing was sort of, I mean,
Right.
he did everything. I mean,
Right.
the caves were incredible, and he'd be walking through these things, and everything was life-size. I mean, it was just phenomenal. It was, and the space jockey was,
Yeah.
it was just amazing.
It's really sad. You guys know what happened to the space jockey? Some religious zealots who found it demonic set it on fire about a year after the movie. It's kind of sad. It's no longer
It was
with us.
styrofoam. It's made out of styrofoam, right?
It's such
And,
an iconic piece of imagery. We don't have it anymore.
Well, but I understand one of the reasons they had to shoot it over in England was because of the materials that you could use. And one of them was that was, you know, it was built primarily out of styrofoam, and then of course everything was over the top. Then it was illegal in America to use that. So that, because of being a fire hazard, so it probably went up pretty quickly.
It's sad. Cool. Thank you. Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
One of my favorite scenes in the movie is when the characters are all introduced for the first time, and you're having this very natural conversation together in the mess, and the camera is kind of moving around you. And I've always been very curious that some of the best acting I've ever seen is just so natural. How did that scene unfold for you, and how much of that was improvisational or was part of the script? It just seemed to kind of flow and overlap so
A
perfectly.
lot of improvisational.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I comfort with each other. That's really what spawned all of that. Trust.
Thank you.
That brings up something that I found out about is that Ridley gave all you guys extensive backstories for all your characters. Do you remember anything about those backstories?
No, I know that originally in the script, and just before I started, that there was a suggestion of a romance between Alice and Sigourney's character.
You guys were supposed to have a sex scene, right?
Yeah, but that really just wouldn't work in the way that he was plotting it.
Yeah.
So they had to be cut. So a couple of scenes just had to, for the sake of the pace, for the sake of the suspense that's being built, stuff like that.
Have you guys ever heard about any of the, obviously films like this come out and they're iconic and people teach whole classes on them and they deconstruct them and Alien kind of, like you said, took this idea from Texas Chainsaw Massacre that we saw a lot in the 80s slasher film with the final girl. Ripley was kind of this final girl model, but it's interesting because she's androgynous and she's this strong female character and was really one of the first strong, badass chicks that we've seen in movies. Have you guys ever read any of the analysis of Alien or anything of that stuff? Well, you should, because it's interesting.
I don't know, a lot of this stuff for me is Monet once said, one of my favorite paintings, he said, everybody comes to look at my paintings and they talk about it, they analyze it, and talk about understanding the meaning of it. When that's all that's really important is you love it, you know. And that's pretty much how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't know where the analysis there's a society where, well, that's a whole other thing. We intellectualize too much. We overthink things. Just don't feel them. It's very good to feel things out. Trust your impulses. All of you. I passed that.
Makes me feel like I've wasted my whole life watching it. 4 years of film school analyzing movies on the train could have been solved by that one quote. Thanks, Tom Skerritt. Appreciate that. Next question.
Questions for the facehugger, Joseph.
Yes.
You hear a lot of talk about scream queens, things like that. But for me, Alien, with Lambert's death specifically, is one of the most terrifying, most haunting things I've ever heard in my life. Even to this day, at 37 years old, I hear that. Was that whole thing new? How did that come about? And what was the process for that? Because that scream, and really again on what Tom was saying, it takes place off screen. You get a lot more of a horrified feel from that. So.
Well, originally, my death was supposed to take place inside of one of the lockers. I was supposed to crawl into one of those lockers like the cat crawled into one of those lockers. We shot for 5 days. We did that scene. It took 5 days to shoot. Somebody asked me once, how did it feel to have that tail go up between your legs? That tail never went up between my legs. Those were Harry Dean Stanton's legs. And if you notice, he's wearing sneakers and I wore cowboy boots through the whole movie. And so I was initially incredibly irritated by the whole thing. But that was the end result. We never did shoot my death. So what I thought was going to happen and get caught up inside the locker never was shot. I asked them what was going to happen and they said that they got enough footage. And the next thing I went in a week later and I was hanging by some sort of a jock strap contraption for a couple of hours so that you could just see my foot dangling, and then they decided that that's what my death would be. So, as I said before, I just reacted off of Balaji. I think you have to put yourself in the moment when you're doing something. I can't sit there and totally analyze, oh, this is what I'm going to do at this moment, or this is what I'm going to do then. I just totally watched him and what happened happened. And he was incredible. Like I said, he took these, he could just stand there and you just have to watch him, and then all of a sudden his hand would go and you go, oh. I mean, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. I didn't have to act, I just had to play Lambert and this thing coming after her.
There's more direction from Ridley, because that scream, even there's a pause and a hint in the middle. You just
I have no
imagine
idea.
it's
Ridley didn't say anything. He just let us do our own thing. Yeah.
Veronica goes there.
Tom, do you have any anecdotes about your, we see the thing in the tunnel happen, and then you get a proper death scene, but you're all rigged up in the thing, they toast you like a marshmallow. But not only after delivering your famous line, kill me.
Well, no, that was a whole different ball.
Yeah,
Remember that ball game?
yeah.
They had sent Sigourney out to learn how to do a flamethrower. So she goes out and she practices with this flamethrower in the back of the studio off of this big grass lot. And that thing threw flames 24 feet. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So then the way they have it set up is Tom is sitting up in a chair and he's now got webs all over him. There's a big glass wall so that, when she comes looking for him and then so that they can shoot this thing. And Ridley actually said, fire the gun. At which point, that crew member from the special effects screams, cut. If she'd have hit that glass wall, every one of those crew members, everybody standing behind the camera, including her, would have been a crisp. It was like sort of reminiscent of that horrible thing that happened with Vic Morrow and John Landis. Sometimes people get so caught up in what they're doing that it doesn't become a movie anymore. And I think he fired the whole crew, all the special effects crew. They were brought back in on the next day. I think he got so wrapped up in it, he did not realize what he was doing.
Yeah.
And when you think of the disaster that could have happened, it is so scary. It was horrible. But in a sense, that sort of brought a different tension to that entire scene.
Sure. Well, originally wasn't it supposed to be much more elaborate, where they explored the fact that you were the next host and stuff like that?
Well, and then I think they never did get shot, really.
Right.
Just you up there in that thing.
Well,
But,
they shot it, just we're going to face again.
Yeah.
About the face. We want to see her get out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Where was that going?
Right. Well, she has to save the damn cat, too. I mean, she doesn't have time for you. She's got to save the cat. Yeah, that's what the whole movie's about. Thanks. Good question. Yeah. Yeah.
the red herring.
Yeah.
That was the red herring.
Yes, sir. Last question. Do we have any more last-minute questions? Scott, make it good.
Hi guys, thank you for coming. I saw a documentary about the making of the film where Alan Ladd Jr. said that he saw a 3-hour cut of Alien when before it was edited down to its feature length.
I don't know. No? Who said this?
Alan Ladd Jr. in the documentary I saw.
Oh, you'd say something like that, I guess. No, I never saw a 3-hour version.
I've heard that too. I've heard the original cut was 3+ hours or something.
I don't know why I didn't see it.
That's
Just that was there was that question. Any more?
The first cutout is always way longer.
Yeah.
And then MASH was 4 hours long.
Thank you.
Sorry, we just appreciate
You don't only have to ask alien questions. We can get some space camp questions, some X-Files questions, Witches of Eastwick. Oh, this guy is a big space camp fan apparently.
No, but I would like to know what it was like to work with Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, because
Well, I have to tell you, I had a wonderful experience with Alfred Hitchcock. I had done this movie called The Children's Hour with Audrey Hepburn, Shirley MacLaine, and directed by William Wyler. And I guess Mr. Hitchcock had seen it. because he requested meeting me. So I went to the bungalow that he had on Universal Lot. And I went in. My mother, of course, at the time was 12. So I go in to meet him. He's sitting behind his desk. And he says, oh, I see that you were born in Bristol, which is in England. He goes, that's where my favorite wine cellar is. And proceeded to list wines that were pretty fabulous to get. I'm 12 and I'm going, huh? He told me how to cook a steak. Because I would need to know this when I get married. He was down the line. And it was like these conversations, like I was some sort of an adult, I guess. You know, we just sat, we talked, you know. I get the movie. He was incredibly open to me. I would ask questions. I never, ever felt intimidated by him. We shot everything twice. Everything was shot in Bodega Bay, and then everything was moved to the lot. We shot everything at Universal again the second time. But I remember saying to him when we were out there by the schoolhouse, and then all those birds start coming onto the jungle gym and all across the wires and stuff. And I said, well, because some of them were just literally flat pieces of cardboard birds, all painted black, stuck on there. And I said, aren't people going to notice that those are fake? And he said, when you are watching a movie, your eye sees movement. You assume everything is alive. And it's absolutely true. I just saw it. It's the 50th anniversary coming up. They have a brand new print, which they showed at the Academy. You cannot tell the fake birds from the real birds because your eye, it just plays those wonderful sort of tricks on you. And then there was another time when we were all going to leave, and Rod Taylor reaches down and opens the door, but there was no door. And so I said, well, there's no door. And he goes, well, if there was a door, I wouldn't be able to see you, would I? So he says, show her, Rod. So Rod reaches down. He mimes opening the door. The shadow of the light comes across. All of a sudden, there's the brightness of the outside. And he said, you see, that is the magic of movies. How lucky was I? I was 12 years old. And, you know, I'm taking tea in the afternoon at 4:30 with Sid. He always wore these three-piece suits. They threw me a surprise 13th birthday party. And there's this, like, incredible picture. I just didn't even expect it, you know. And here's this huge cake. And then he took out a piece of board and a black Crayola, and he wrote, to the woman I love, Veronica, and drew his face and something.
You still have that?
I still do.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
And when I got home, there was this huge bouquet of flowers, as big as myself, of violet and French tulips. It was just, I don't know, I know these stories of Chippy, and I know and I understand it was a very difficult time for her. He had a very British sense of humor, which both my parents are British and I'm British too. So maybe he would go around and tell limericks and dirty jokes, and I'd go home and they'd go, oh, Alfred Hitchcock told this joke today. My mother, yes. I don't know. I think he sort of looked at me as if I was his daughter. And so for that, it was always special. He had quirky sides running down on the big, huge treadmills, because they would have these marionettes that came swooping in, and this huge, big treadmill. We'd already shot running down the hill, but then for the close-ups and stuff like that, and he was running like bats out of hell. And he kept speeding this treadmill up. We'd be running like crazy. One person would go down, and boom, you'd be all shot off the end. And I think he thought it was hysterical to watch his folks and then he kept getting faster and faster and faster. One person would go down, he desperately wanted to stay in the front, so you were the one that would get wiped out. Oh, God. I loved him. I thought he was great. And then nicer, too.